ISO 27001 Annex A 7.1 physical security perimeters. So what we're doing now is we're taking a move into Annex A7, which is all around about physical security. Before we jump into 7.1, I want to raise a point that gets raised with me on a regular basis, which is we are a fully remote organization. We're a fully remote organization. Do the physical security controls still apply to me? I'm not going to answer that in this particular blog, but what I am going to do is say, look at the hightable.io website where I have provided you with a detailed step-by-step guide on how to handle the fact that physical security controls do not apply to you if you are a fully remote organization. But in terms of this tutorial, we're going to go through 7.1 physical security perimeters. Let's make a start, as always, with a definition so that we know what we're trying to achieve, and then I'll talk you through how you're going to go about doing that. So the definition: to prevent unauthorized physical access, damage and interference to the organization's information and other associated assets. What we're looking at here when it comes to the physical security controls and perimeters is, firstly, do we have any premises? Do we have either our own dedicated premises, shared offices, a WeWork somewhere that we visit on a regular basis? If we don't, read that blog. If we do, then this applies to you if those premises are in scope for your ISO 27001 certification. So what does that mean? That means go back to the blog in the tutorial on how to define scope. And as part of scope, we're going to narrow that down into the products and the services and the locations that are in scope for our certificate. If they are in scope, then this is going to apply. Okay, so if you have it and they're in scope, then this is going to apply. This is one of those areas where getting scope right is incredibly important, right? Because if we have a global organization with offices across the globe, it may well be that we don't want every single one of those in scope when it comes to certification, because it means an auditor is going to have to visit it. It means it's going to have to go through the additional bureaucracy. It is going to increase the audit costs because the auditor will visit every site that you've got, or a sample, but pretty much every site that you've got, right? So what we're looking at here is physical premises of which you have some control over, and that means that that's going to be in. What are we looking at here when it comes to perimeters? Do we need to? I mean, okay, yes, we do. So this is around physical security, right? This is traditional physical security. Remembering that the guidance of the standard is guidance. It isn't telling you to go away and put in 20-foot high walls with razor wire on the top. It's not telling you to go away and put in CCTV. What it's saying to you is understand the risks that are associated with the physical premises that you've got, and then implement a perimeter that is proportionate and appropriate to the business and to that risk. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. So let's have a look at some general guidance. What are general guidance considerations when it comes to physical perimeter security? So we're going to define those requirements based on need. We are going to need a policy. I provide a policy as part of the ISO 27001 toolkit, the ultimate toolkit for ISO 27001 certification. You get that. That particular policy is covered in another tutorial, but you're going to have that. Write it, download it, get a copy of it. We're going to have a physical security perimeter for physical locations that process information. So here what we're looking at is physical locations that process, store or transmit data. You know, if you wanted to narrow that down. We're going to consider, when we look at our information, our physical security of information, we're going to consider floors, walls, ceilings, external roofs, and we're considering solid construction. We're looking at having external doors with locks on them. We're looking at having alarms and monitors. We're going to look at having an intruder response process. And always, we're going to meet the requirements of the law. We're not going to put in physical security that breaches the requirements of the law, okay? So be sure to engage with a legal professional within the geography, location, locale that you're in, just to make sure that whatever it is that you think you can do, you can do. You're not breaking health and safety, and you're not breaking the law of itself, right? So let's look at health and safety. Your number one priority here is health and safety, right? You have to maintain health and safety. Yes, your information is important. Yes, what you do is important. Nothing is more important than life and health and safety of individuals. So be sure to engage with that legal professional. The most significant laws around that tend to be health and safety, as the protection of human life is our priority. And there are common things that should be considered. So here what we're looking at is not only securing that perimeter, but we're looking at things around fire suppression. We're looking at things, fire doors, fire alarms, doors that fail open in the event that something is triggered, such as a fire alarm. So we want to protect the people, we want to protect that information, but we also want to protect people, okay? When it comes to your physical on-site audit, that side of it, the auditor will check, absolutely no doubt. They will check fire doors. They will make sure that fire doors are not propped open if they shouldn't be. They will check the fire suppression. They will make sure if you have a sprinkler system that you can evidence that it's maintained and that it's adequate. They will check fire extinguishers, right? They will just check them to make sure that they've been serviced and that they're end date and that they're operational. So this is absolutely fundamental for you. Some guidance around this, what I would be looking at doing is defining the physical security requirements. So I would be looking at saying, what is the organization that we've got? And then what are the physical security requirements that we need? It may well be here that you're looking at zoning and subzoning as well. So this is really going to come down to how complicated, how big you are, and how much of a physical presence that you have. So let's start at the beginning, right? At the beginning, you've got offices that you rent. That could be a shared office space. In that particular instance, you're going to be wanting to have contracts with the landlord. You need that for everybody. You probably want a contract with the service provider, and then going back to supplier management, what are the security considerations that you've baked in with them? What are they responsible for? What are you responsible for? What is the incident response and the incident reporting that comes out of the back of that? The second level up from that is going to be you just rent an office. You have an office yourself, but you now take care of things like CCTV, guards and receptions. So in that case, your physical security policy and your processes are going to reference that, right? You are going to be taking accountability for that. So you are going to need that contract in with the landlord. It's going to have some basic security considerations in there, but you are going to be responsible for that. And for everything that you do then implement, specifically things like CCTV, make sure that you're engaging with professionals who understand it. In that instance, I'm thinking particularly around data protection, the storing of personal information, what you can and can't film, when and when you can't film it, right? So there are going to be some considerations around that. Alarms and monitors is going to be something that you want to be putting in place. Again, it's either the landlord responsibility or your responsibility. And those alarms and monitors are going to have a process attached to them. And that process needs defining and documenting who is going to get contacted, how are they going to respond, what is going to happen off of the back of that. Secure areas comes into this. So when we have our perimeters, and we may well come onto a control specifically on this, but we need the access to secure areas to be restricted. And we need the access to internal zones to be restricted. So what is an auditor going to check? An auditor is going to check that you have a physical security perimeter. This is really, really easy, right? And this is one where people often fall down, right? So when an auditor first comes to site, they will check the controls, right? They will see whether or not they can just get entry into the building. They'll be trying doors to see whether the doors are open when they should be locked. They'll be trying gates. They'll be trying to circumnavigate around receptionists. They may try and tailgate. So you want to make sure that that physical security perimeter not only is in place, but you have checked before that auditor comes on site, and you are absolutely 100% that nothing is going to go wrong on the day itself. So that factors into the strength of that physical security perimeter, right? So how secure is that? Is it just something that looks like it's in place, or does it work? So we're referencing back checking doors, tailgating, the things that they're going to do around that. It isn't necessarily the end of the world, right? They're going to make some assumptions before they do the audit of you. But if you can tie that back to your policy, your physical security policy, your risk management, if you've got risk items on your risk register that reference the lack of certain controls, for example, CCTV, why you don't have those controls, and other compensating controls that you do have, then you're going to be absolutely golden, right? It is a race-based management system. As I said at the beginning, I'm not telling you to put these in, but what I'm saying is they may expect them. Document what exactly it is that you have got. show that you're managing it through risk, have risk items for the things that you don't have, and then when they walk around that, make sure that that links up, right? That you're not doing something, that you're not saying that you did something and then you're not doing it. So the kind of things that we see, physical mistakes, physical security perimeter is turned off. What do I mean by that? Oh my goodness me, the number of audits that occur during the summer when fire doors illegally are propped open, security doors are propped open to let air through, gates are, have malfunctioned, and they still haven't been fixed by the time the auditor comes out, right? So you've got to make sure that your physical security perimeter is operating as intended. Another mistake is that people don't necessarily do what it is that they should do, right? Again, I have been on audits where staff will come in while the auditor is in the reception. Oh, I forgot my pass. They'll get waved through. Morning, John. Morning, Anne. We're just going to sweep you through, with no checks and no balances off at the back of it, not following the processes. So just make sure that people are doing what it is that is expected of them, that you've trained and you've communicated and you've checked on it, and as part of your internal audit you've checked on it, and prior to the audit you've recommunicated it about what it is that they should be doing, and that you've checked it and you're making sure that you have. So physical security is physical security, right? In its basic forms, you're going to think about the kind of security that you have at home. You've got locks on your doors at home, you've got alarms on your doors at home, you may well have cameras, IP cameras associated with doorbells that are recording. So these are the kind of things that you're going to be looking at implementing and making sure, proportionate to the risk, proportionate to the confidentiality of the data, that you're physically protecting that. All of the factors that come into here, size, contracts that you have, whether you're in a shared office, whether you're in a dedicated office, whether you're in an environment on an estate in a locale that has a high crime rate, right? In those kind of locales, things that we've seen are ram raid physical bollards that are put in, right? So the level of security is going to be proportionate. Get the help of your security team, your physical security team, your security guards, right? And do what is appropriate for you. So my name is Stuart Barker. I am the ISO 27001 Ninja, the online guru for ISO 27001, as we now take a dive into physical security. There are quite a few of these to go through, so bear with me. But for now, peace out.